his head there's a problem here. And these guys are the backbone of this race, these privateers who turn up with good equipment. Car 22, the Marathon Foods Commodore.
John English, Brett Yule.
Yep, they're in trouble.
It's a front end collapse there as he hit the wall.
Looks like the front left wheel maybe missing.
Collapsed. Well, it's on the exit road from the pits by the look of it.
Yeah, he hasn't made it out.
Finnegan has. There he goes.
Terry gets going again in the Foodtown Commodore. So supported by the Huntley Hotel. Always has a beautifully turned out car, Terry.
Former Australian Formula 2 champion. And a guy who was pretty strong in the old days of Group C touring car racing in the mid-80s. He certainly found the going tough through the Group A era, but this is a beautifully turned out car, there's no denying it.
BMW slips by him.
This is the 25 car, Soper and Longhurst. Still waves to him as well because Terry gave him the inside line there coming up to the karting.
Still in 8th place, Soper.
And the 27 car running in 23rd spot in the great race.
Well, that puts him one position behind the leader in the 2-litre category, Terry Finnegan. Now let's see what happened here with the Marathon Foods entry.
I had one, but the wheel fell off.
Wheel just parted company.
The quad becomes a tricycle, and off it goes.
It's terribly fortunate he's been able to get off the racing line there.
Gary waiting for Alan Jones to come in, and Glenn hasn't really had too much in the way of a smile on his face this weekend.
He certainly has. He's been visibly down in the mouth all week. Obviously disappointed at the lack of speed of the Falcons compared to the Commodores in both qualifying and apparently in race trim. If those 220s that Jones has been punching out are a fair indication,
here he comes.
They're really not in with a show for outright race speed at all.
This will be a pretty quick pit stop.
Tyres, driver and fuel.
Let's go to the pits.
Ben Seaton gets in.
Alan Jones is completely wet. He has been carrying that flu this week, and you can see it, he's paid for it with his gear, but it's a normal stop. The wheels are on. They're not going to change pads until the next one, but the engine's been turned off. That's a funny sort of a sign. Fuel's still going in. And look at Jonesy. He's earned his money today. He's completely wet through a 3-layer suit. I mean, it is firing it up. It is a normal stop and not a problem. There'll be a way in. He's still got a problem firing it up.
You might catch Alan for a chat later.
GIO car, meanwhile, down the other end of the pit lane in for an unscheduled stop. Peter Jackson car's been in there for just over 50 seconds. So, tardy stop in the pits as well, and they're still yet to make a pad change. 30 was in 5th position. He rejoins in 8th. Now, down the other end of the pit lane, Neil Crompton was in 8th. And he's come in for an unscheduled stop after just taking over the car. So all sorts of dramas upon dramas. Car 55, the second Brockmobile comes in, the car that runs the Quicks food store colours.
Dunstan Harrington, they've been in the top 10 all day.
It's like Troy climbing back in. 55 was 10th when they pulled in.
Now, these guys put in a great show at the 500 a few weeks ago. Ran very strongly. They had an engine problem toward the end and managed to limp across the line, but for most of the race, they were running with the leaders. They were showing impressive pace, and here we have a pad change taking place. So
Steve Harrington giving Troy a bit of a report on how the car feels.
05 maybe out of the action. But this one, we just squeezed out of the top 10 now. He's had his stop. Certainly well within striking distance.
Now AJ is in the pits.
Now there is someone who's physically spent. Down to you, Gricey.
Thanks, mate. Alan, you certainly looked the part. We knew you were going to look like that with the getting out with the car with the flu. I saw the rear right tyre come off the car, though. It's looked a bit distressed. Did it feel okay?
Yeah, it was. It was going away, and I needed that like a hole in the head because I'm not a well man, I can tell you. I mean, I hate to sound like Nigel, but I really am not well. I'm not well, Alan.
You got out of the car terribly wet, but you didn't limp.
Yeah, no, I had a small limp to the chair.
Well, you've got another chance to limp later in the day, I suppose, in case Nigel's watching.
Well, I think I'll have the big limp next time round. I think it might be fair income. But no, but the car's great. I mean, the car is fabulous. It's the car's quicker than me.
What about the track? How's that standing up, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. There's a little bit of oil around, a little bit of debris where I think the other Dick Johnson car hit the wall, but not too bad. Otherwise, traffic's pretty good and everything's going according to plan so far.
Everybody's looking after tyres, and some of them have changed tyre compounds on the rear, particularly the rear right. Do you plan to change a compound on the rear?
No, actually, we changed the compound on the front, and it was very, very good, and I think the back was starting to go away, which was making me be a little bit gentle with the throttle, so we're learning.
Maybe a little bit of extra weight that you're carrying over, Glenn. Maybe that just makes the car a bit looser, do you think?
Well, I'm trying, mate. Bloody hell, I've lost a bit.
Thanks, Alan.
Oh, terrific, Gracie. You're going and insult my mate AJ about his weight. Oh, let's check them out for you. The full grid, so if you're looking where your favourite car and driver combo is running, check this out. Race lead held by Scaife and Richards on lap 69. 5.66 seconds back to Larry Perkins. Then back to Mazera and Percy in third place. Gardner and Jones still running in fourth. Brabham and Olofsson are fifth. In sixth, it's Longhurst and Soper. They're making the climb. Seventh, Seaton and Jones. Eighth, Crompton and Gibbs. Ninth, Johnson and Bauer. And 10, Dunstan and Harrington.
Position 11, Brabham and Parsons coming through in the Peter Jackson Falcon EB. 12, Ashby and Reid in the Commodore. Position 13, Pearson and Stewart in the Product VP. Position 14, car 12, Jones and Crick in the Ampol machine. And in position 15, car 14, Johnson and Wall. Position 16, the two Donahers in the Mokapan Coffee entry. Out of 17, car 47, Trimboli and Harris. Out of 18, car 22, English and Yulden. Out of position 19, car 23, the second of the Diet Coke BMWs. And position 20, car 27, Finnegan and Rogers.
21st positions held down by Blanchard and Allen in the V&H BMW. Then the first of the 2-litre cars, the leader in the category in car number 8 is Colin Bond and Terry Bosnjak. 23rd position, Radisich and McConville, well, they were up the big crunch in the wall. The second place getter in the 2-litre category, Cotter and Dorman in 24th position. Preston and Peters in the Komatsu entry, still getting around in 25th. 26th place, Wilton, McShane in a Commodore. Then position 27, Smith and Bates. 28th, McCall and Gazard. 29th, Lusty and Heffernan. And in 30th position, Masterton and Hill.
In 31, Rogers and Hopwood. Bob Holden Motors Toyota Corolla. In 32, O'Brien and Callahan in the Commodore VL. In 33, Full and Fitzgerald. 34, Binding and Dartell. 35, Brock and Cleland Immobile at this stage. 36, Conway and Gardner. 37, McMillan and Martin. 38, Stratton and Madden in the Corolla. In 39, Ellery and Gassati. And in 40, Badecki and O'Brien in the Sonoma Snuff.
Out of action almost, Golson and Golson in 41st, 42nd Matthews and Mulvihill, Wilmington and Payton behind the wall. The rest are incidental at this stage, as you saw car number 35 come in for its pit stop. The Grace race continues at Mount Panorama Bathurst. We'll be back in a moment. The Tooheys 1000 of 93 continues at Mount Panorama, lap 71 of 161. If you thought this race was over, think again. Larry Perkins is eating into the lead of Mark Scaife, and you'll be able to see on some of the wider shots the gap between the two cars. There's Scaife coming along the front straight, and headlights ablaze. It's Perkins down to 4 seconds and closing, and here he is, the man who sat on pole in the Castrol Commodore. The race is well and truly alive. Back in third place, car number 15, so the two Telecom MobileNet Commodores still run third and fourth. And Perkins stalking the race leader, Mark Scaife.
This is one gripping battle, Michael. They're battling it ahead, Scaife and Larry. 2 18s, 2 16s, as they battle their way through traffic.
Coming up and on the inside now, car number 55 was in position number 9. Still in that spot as Lightning Larry sets to strike up the mountain. Chris Economaki, who's been the voice of US Motorsport across all the networks for 30 years, joins us in the pits. And Chris, your view of the race so far?
Mike, I'm impressed with the intensity of the competition. It's been a dozen years since I was here. In the old days, it was a planned, plotted race. Drivers drove to a set schedule. Here, it's racing all the way. How many air dams have been knocked off today? It's remarkable. And we've got a spread now of 5 seconds between the leader and the second place car. What I'm also impressed about is how talented some of the pit crews are, and frankly, how poor some of the other ones are. Larry Perkins' stop early was 45 seconds. The Holden Racing Team stops have been under 20 seconds. The Peter Jansen crew just stopped a few minutes ago, 32 seconds. So you can see, with a 5-second interval between first and second, the men in the pit can win or lose for their driver. I think it's going to be an exciting race right down to the checkered flag.
Thank you, Chris. And you've certainly seen some racing as we pick up now on the Colin Bond, Terry Bosanjak, Caltex Corolla. They started off looking like a 1-2 for the 2-litre class here today. Caltex have been very supportive of the racing efforts. Car number 8 running position 22 when it came into the pits.
There's our stick cam.
Colin Bond
Looking down on top of the engine. Actually, the most amazing view. Was first in class, as Mike said.
Oil line problem. Bondi, winner here, of course, in 1969.
Been a long time, Wilco.
His 27th start here today.
Which would make him, what, the
longest serving driver at the Mount Panorama circuit. Doesn't mean he came here before any other. Like Bob Holden, for argument's sake, is not here, unfortunately for Bob. His car has been taken over because he had a car accident himself in Sydney early in the week and is still in hospital. Bob, all the best to you. The boys are doing a great job out there for you, Peter Hopwood and Dennis Rogers, and we'll get a look at them a little bit later on.
Well, Colin Bond is the man who's plotted the 2-car team for Caltex, and he's with Chris Economaki.
Well, I'm down here with Colin Bond. We don't have a camera. Colin, you guys are doing a fine job, but the small bore cars are having to watch a lot in their mirror. How much time are you spending looking in the mirror out on the track rather than looking ahead?
Well, what we've got to do actually is we're fairly quick across top of the mountain, and it's not so bad. There's certain areas on the track where you just keep an eye and see where they are. It's a problem probably when about 4 or 5 of them actually just come around together, because you don't want to slow them down. We had a fairly comfortable lead in our class, so we just sort of get out of the road, let the fast boys through, and then get on with the job. But we've now got a problem, I see, down here, and it's not looking too good.
Well, let's hope the problem goes away. Thanks very much, Colin, and good luck to you. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Chris.
While we're talking Corollas, Mike, I saw a shot of the 99 car, the Corolla 11 of Dennis Cribbett and Steve Cramp stopped at the top of the mountain earlier too. So the little cars suffering a few mechanical problems as we get deeper into the race.
Dunstan Harrington in position 9, and like we said so many times, to be in the top 10 at any stage during this race is a very handy place to be. Keep in mind, this is 73 laps into the event, not even at half distance.
And this is the second car for the Advantage Racing team, Peter Brock's team, owned by Steve Fraser. And the car running very, very strong, sponsored by Quick Stores. Looks like the Bondi's car is going back into... yeah, it looks like it's just about done for the moment. They've got a bit of work to do, so they're pulling it off pit lane.
Well, this will put the defending 2-litre champions, Dillman and Cotter, in their BMW back in the front in that category.
Just back to this car, I started to mention about Troy Dunstan and Steve Harrington. Troy's at the wheel at the moment, owned by Advantage Racing, and they've brought Pepsi Cola into racing in Group A in Australia. So the battle between Pepsi and Coca-Cola was certainly taken to the racetrack in season 93, and at the moment, looking at this, they're doing pretty well.
Look at that gap, Mike. The gap between first and second down to 3.3.
Larry Perkins has taken heaps of time off Scaife, and look at the battle times. 2:15 dead for Scaife, and a 2:15.8 for Larry. The battle's on. Meanwhile, take a look at Troy Dunstan from the Gold Coast in Queensland, 31 years of age, winner of the Formula Ford Cup in 1990, Formula Ford Driver to Europe Series the year after, and 7th at Bathurst last year. Pretty handy competitor and doing a great job out here today.
And he has a great co-driver in Steve Harrington, who's been a regular in just about all forms of racing, as we pick up on the number 17 car, John Bow at the wheel.
Coming in for a brake pad change, fuel, and I would imagine a driver change.
Well, 17 was in 7th place. Richard, how's it going?
It's just jumped out of the car. In has got Dick Johnson. Fuel going in and tyres off the car, which don't look... I'm joined down here by Alan Grace, actually.
Is it a pad stop change?